Old Man Van Castle, and I'm getting ready to give you my recap of last Sunday's 47th Marine Corps Marathon. Look at this bad boy. Look at this medal. And my Boston qualifier attempt results. Now I'm going to tell you, Old Man Van wasn't his normal, bubbly self. Well, the reason for that is there was a lot of pressure that Old Man Van was putting on himself. I started to feel the pressure in my last week of taper. I started to feel like, wow, what if I don't perform at the level that I'm expected to? What if I don't hit that Boston qualifier goal as I have almost guaranteed to my YouTube subscribers, to my Facebook friends, to my Instagram friends, and to my family and friends? I was really feeling the pressure of potentially letting everybody down, including myself. Old Man Van's not his typical bubbly self. Old Man Van kind of made a few mistakes there. Ran into one of my wonderful YouTube subscribers who called out Old Man Van at the Marine Corps Marathon Expo. And you know what? I put my camera down. I did talk to the gentleman. I really had a good time, but I froze. I didn't put my camera up. I didn't get a picture with him. That is a mistake that Old Man Van will not make again. It just was, I was just stressed. But in the end, marathon weekend down in DC and Arlington turned out better than I could have expected. So, great video, right? You could see how nervous I was. You could see how stressed I was. You can see how worried I was that lack of sleep, that Friday, the 28th, I got like 3 hours of sleep. That was not good at all. I couldn't keep my heart rate down. I was just all tensed up, even though I wasn't thinking, or at least aware of thinking about the race. It wasn't like my mind was racing, but I just couldn't get my heart rate down. So I slept horribly that Friday night, went to the shakeout run on the National Mall on Saturday with the Marine Corps Marathon and 10K Facebook group. And even then, I had a great time, but I still felt tensed. My heart rate was up. It was only a 2.92 or 97 run, and I just was tense. Went back to the Airbnb, tried to rest, tried to nap, got to bed really early, 6:30 p.m. Did get about 8 hours of sleep, but it was very light sleep. It was very, I guess, interrupted sleep, just low quality sleep. And I was extremely worried on marathon morning that, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know how my body's going to respond. And as you could see, once the race started, everything fell into place. Could Old Man Van have run faster? I think I could have run faster. I think in the last 6.2 miles, I could have ramped up the pace a little bit and maybe broke 3:40. But I was so worried about hitting that goal that I stuck exactly to my pacing strategy. I started to feel it a little bit in my quads late in the race, maybe the last 3 miles, and I did not want to all of a sudden have those quads seize up and cramp. So I stayed to my pace rather than push it harder. The goal was to qualify for Boston, and that is what I was going to do no matter what. So could Old Man Van have run a 3:35? Potentially that day. I think I probably had that in me. But the goal was to get enough of a buffer to qualify for the 2024 Boston Marathon. So I stuck to that plan. So let's get into the pacing strategy. So as you saw in my previous video, I planned for a distance a little bit longer than 26.2 because, as we all know, in any road race, it's almost impossible to run the perfect line. It's almost impossible to run 26.2 miles exactly. So maps that I had loaded, I had queried some folks that I know online and said, who had run the Marine Corps Marathon before. And I said, do you have any course maps that I can use that are, as close to 26.2 as possible? Someone gave me the course map at 26.49 miles, and I showed that to you guys. I planned on running the tangents as best that I could, considering large crowds, a lot of twists and turns. And actually, as you can see in my results, it came out to 26.46 miles. So almost the same as the map that I had. So my plan was to run 8 minutes and 25 seconds per mile for that 26.49, and turned out to be 26.46, to ensure that I got at least a 7-minute buffer under my Boston qualifying time. That I did. As you can see, 3:42:31 as the official race time. That put me 7 minutes and 29 seconds under the 3 hours and 50 minutes, age 60 to 64 Boston Marathon qualifying time. So I've got a significant buffer, almost guarantee entry into the 2024 Boston Marathon. So everything worked to the T. Let's go through the pacing. So I started out, and I think for the first maybe half of the race, I was anywhere from about 20 to 40 seconds under my pace. Now, as I mentioned before, I didn't want to go out too hot because I didn't want to burn out in the second half. However, I thought my pace strategy was a little conservative, so potentially I could go a little bit faster, but not a huge difference. So I went out. I actually felt pretty good after the start, much better than I thought I would. I was going based on effort in my Pace Pro on my Garmin, and I felt very comfortable and looked down, and I was just a little bit, ahead of pace. So I'm like, okay, this is feeling pretty good. I put myself in the corral as close to the front as I could so that once we took off, I didn't have to weave around people a lot. So maybe the first mile, there was a lot of people there, but I was pretty much able to get to the tangents as best that I could without having to do too much bobbing and weaving through the crowd. So that really helped. I took it easy on the hills, just as I planned. I was almost exactly where I wanted to be, just a few seconds ahead. So everything worked out early in the race. I was feeling good. I was feeling smooth. I'm going to tell you, great shoes, the Endorphin Pro 3s. Really liked them, and I'm so glad I went a half size up because, man, I would have had problems if I stayed with the 11.5. So my pacing was really good. It was very consistent. I felt good. My heart rate wasn't racing. So I'm like, wow, with this lack of sleep, how come I feel so good? Well, a couple of things that I made sure that I did as well. I hit the bathrooms really early. I think I hit the porta-johns maybe 4 times. And maybe I think I had to go a 5th time, and I went in the kind of the bushes and did that. I didn't have to do a number 2 because I took 1 Imodium 2 hours before the race, and that took care of it. No issues whatsoever. Bathroom was good. My pre-race hydration, my pre-race nutrition was good. So all of that was taken care of. And the thing that I really made sure I did is early in the race, especially the first, say, half to 3/4 of the race, every single water stop, I took a cup of water. Every single water stop, because I wasn't carrying water on my own. And I had 6 Crank Sports e-gels, and I had that 1 caffeinated goo. Every 5 miles, religiously, I took that Crank Sports e-gel. I tested it out in training. It worked to a T, and it again worked to a T in the Marine Corps Marathon. So first half of the race, great. Again, my time was a little bit ahead of pace, maybe again like 20 to 40 seconds, and I just kept that going. I did kind of back off a little bit midway through the race, started to feel it a little bit, so I backed off just a bit to get it closer to right on pace, and just continued to move along, took my nutrition when I needed to take my nutrition, took my hydration when I needed to take the hydration. Conditions were perfect, about 40 degrees at the start, didn't get any warmer than like low 50s by the time I finished. No wind, very dry, so perfect running conditions. So I wasn't sweating too much. Another thing I did was take some salt tablets with me. I think once, maybe around mile 16, I started to feel a little bit in my quads. I took 1 salt tablet. Again, after 20 miles, I took another salt tablet, feeling a little bit in my quads, just to make sure, even with the Crank Sports e-gels and the electrolytes in those e-gels, I wanted to make sure I had enough salt, because I was only taking water, to ward off any cramping, and it worked. Got to 20 miles, felt pretty darn good at 20 miles. I didn't feel like I was about to hit the wall, but we all know it can happen in an instant. Got to the 14th Street Bridge. As I mentioned, I was going to take a little 12-ounce soft flask that I put in my naked belt. Did that. They had these big tanks up on the bridge that you could, fill up your water bottle if you had one. I did that. It took me maybe 15, 20 seconds to fill that bottle up. Filled it up so I had some water to go along with that Crank Sports e-gel at mile 20. That worked out perfectly. I then had one of my best buds, a guy I grew up with, who had come up to visit his brother in Arlington and was out there with his sister-in-law to cheer me on at mile 23. I had asked him the day before, bring a bottle of flat Coca-Cola. He brought it, handed it to me at mile 23. I drank probably 15 to 20 ounces of flat Coca-Cola at mile 23. And I'm going to tell you, that was magic. That was magic. That got me through the last 5K. Absolutely got me through the last 5K. Little boost of caffeine, boost of sugar. I did not have to take that caffeinated Guroctane because of that, and it got me to the finish line. As you can see, my race pacing, even after the half, I slowed it down to right around race pace, and I maintained that throughout. But very, very consistent pacing. My plan was even splits, and I pretty much did that to a T. In fact, what did my final time come out to be? 3:42:31 officially, 26.46 miles on the Garmin. That comes out to 8:25 per mile, which was my plan. So the plan was executed to the T after all that stress, after all that angst. Oh my God, I was so worried, but everything worked out. And guess what? I qualified for the Boston Marathon. So I want to thank everybody for all the support they gave me. You know what? Without the motivation from my YouTube family, without the motivation from my Facebook family, without the motivation from my family and friends, my Instagram family, I don't know if I would have been able to do this. But what this has told me is I've got a lot further to go, even at 59. I'm not afraid of slowing down at 60. I'm looking to break 3:35. Heck, I'm looking to break 3:30. I think Old Man Van has it in him. Old Man Van is going to continue to race. Old Man Van is going to continue to train and actually improve his training. And I think the sky is the limit, even at my age. So anyone out there who's my age, over 50, over 40, over 60, there's nothing stopping you from running. There's nothing stopping you from getting faster. You just have to train smart. You just have to say, why not? Not, I can't. So I've taken 5 days off. It's Saturday, 6 days after the Marine Corps Marathon. I'm planning on getting out to finally get my legs out on the road today. Took 5 days off, which is what I typically do. I have a race on Thanksgiving morning, the Manchester Road Race here in Manchester, Connecticut, 4.748 miles. That's a really, really fun race. Over 10,000 runners for such a short race. World-class runners in that. It's one of my favorite races and a great way to start the Thanksgiving holiday. So I'm looking forward to that. My legs have recovered. It's taken 5 days for my quads to recover, but now I'm ready to get back out and slowly get back into the running. So probably going to do 2 or 3 miles today, maybe 4 or 5 tomorrow. Get the blood flowing, get those muscles moving, nice, slow, easy runs to get back into it. I'm going to start racing like crazy over the next few months, along with continuing my base work. Whether or not I'm going to run a spring marathon is still up in the air. I don't have to now. I have qualified with my last 2 half marathons for the New York City Marathon in 2023. So 2023 New York City Marathon, 6 months later, Boston Marathon in 2024. Oh my Lord. How cool is that? So those are going to be my primary focuses, but I'm going to start racing like crazy because I find that's the best speed work for me. That really helps me get my speed up, as well as continuing through the winter base building. So I want to show you this medal. I'm going to take it off for a minute. What a beautiful, beautiful medal this is. The Marine Corps Marathon, I think last year or the year before that, was voted the best medal in the world. Again, they just outdo themselves with the bling. And I'm so proud being a Marine veteran myself. This is extremely important to me. It's extremely important that the medal was put around my neck by a fresh new second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. I was a second lieutenant back in the day. So, it just brings everything full circle for me. So I want to thank everybody again for the wonderful support that you've given me. This has been a lifelong dream, and I'm there. I did it, and you can too. So if you like this video, please give me the thumbs up button. That really helps my channel. If you didn't like it, that's okay. Please leave comments. That helps the algorithm, helps me expand my channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And please tell your friends if you really like the Old Man Van Running channel. And you know what I always finish with? Lace up your shoes and let's get out on the roads.